It is Monday, August 2nd. Welcome aboard to Let There Be Talk today, episode number 603. It's going to be rock and roll today. I have a fantastic guest, a Bay Area legend, Mr. Jack Blades from Night Ranger, and of course, Damn Yankees and a lot of other stuff. He played with Ringo Starr. This man is unbelievable. His songwriting, his singing, his bass playing. Played in Rubicon before that. He played Cal Jam 2. The stories are endless. I have a very, very soft spot in my heart for the Bay Area rock bands like Y&T, Night Ranger, Gamma, Journey, Eric Martin Band, Huey Lewis. Kind of that blue-collar rock and roll. It's really amazing how many records these bands sold out of the Bay Area. Really funding a lot of the music scene back then. I mean, these guys were unreal. All of these guys, just this group, Sammy Hagar, throw him in there. It's crazy what the Bay Area has produced. I'm not even talking about the thrash metal and the psychedelic 60s stuff and the punk rock of like Dead Kennedys and Romeo Void and all that. I'm not even talking about that. The amount of music that has come out of the Bay Area blows my mind, especially when I sit down and talk to somebody like Jack Blades, because it just fires up my brain of like, oh my God, it was so insane how many hits these bands had. Huey Lewis alone, one of the biggest selling records ever. Journey, what are you kidding me? They just played Lollapalooza over the weekend to like 2 million people, whatever it was. But when I was young, I hung around that Phoenix Theater. Tom Gaffey had him on the show years ago, and I got a serious schooling in rock and roll. I learned a lot about rock and roll. I learned a lot about how to play professional and be kick-ass. Learn how to sing, play guitar, write songs, all in that theater in Petaluma, California, where I saw Night Ranger at the time, who was Ranger, battle it against Mike Varney's band Cinema in a series called Guitar Wars. I've never forgot it. Me and Eric Wettenkamp went, and who I just saw, by the way, with my other old friend, Greg Smith from the Old Lands while I was doing the Punchline and Sack. Shout out to them. Shout out to Chris Dash and Jill, the Patreoners that came out, and Buzz and Kurt Alameda from Psychedelic Cowboy. Insane weekend at Sack Punchline. We'll get into that in a minute. Phoenix Theater. School of Rock was the Phoenix Theater for me. And I'll tell you, man, Jack Blades, he has been killing it ever since. No cliche here. Didn't OD, still married to the same woman, looks great, sounds great, can sing all the tunes in the same keys. Unreal. Brad Gillis, Jeff Watson, Fitz, Kelly. A smoking rock band. Everybody sang in the band. They played the shit out of the guitars. It was very, very cool to see in the early days. I saw him open for Judas Priest on the Point of Entry tour, and that blew my mind. Bill Graham loved him, put them all over the Bay Area. They opened for everybody and sold millions of records. Of course, they got the Midnight Madness came out after, Seven Wishes, Big Lie, Man in Motion, on and on and on. Tons of records. New record coming out this Friday, and the band played on. And it is damn rocking, I'll tell you that. I mean, at this point in their career, they could easily just be slipping into that, K-Fog, AOR, dad rock. Not happening. Opening track coming for you on the new record. Blew my mind. Breakout. Smoking rock records. But it's hard to deny that original record that came out in 82, Dawn Patrol. Don't Tell Me You Love Me, Sing Me Away. Eddie's Coming Out Tonight. Play Rough. Night Ranger. This thing was a smoker of a debut record. Unreal. They toured with everybody, old school, grinding it out all the way to the top. Saw them on American Bandstand. Look, Mom, we made it. We're on American Bandstand. It was great to talk to this man. And shout out to all the Night Ranger people that are tuning in today. Thank you. If you're your first time here on the podcast, there's 603 episodes for you to dive in. And I've interviewed a lot of the Bay Area legends. Dave Menichetti, Eric Martin, Greg Rowley, Neil Sean, all of them but Sammy. What are you doing, Sammy? Come on. All right, before I get into the episode, let's cover a couple things here. This episode is brought to you by my fantastic sponsor, CBDLion.com. Clean CBD, always reinventing the best products. Right now, go on there, get a discount, save 20% when you use the code DEAN. These guys kill it. I've been using the roll-on my neck for years now. I love the tincture under the tongue when I'm a little stressed or can't sleep. I love the pet CBD for Gertie. Peanut butter treats, she loves them. CBD Lion, family owned, clean, third party tested. This stuff is gold. I'm telling you, I use it every day. They've got it all for you. Hemp flower, CBD, broad spectrum capsules, full spectrum products. Get on it, CBDLion.com. These guys are killing it. Use the code DEAN. All right, I was in Sacramento over the weekend. I want to thank everybody that came out. It was great to see old friends. Me and Steve McDonald, one of my oldest friends, played in my band together. And we had a great time. Ate some good food. Went and saw some art. Saw Dennis Larkin's paintings down there at the Russ Room, which was the old Tower Records area. And some crazy fucking lady crashed into our car, smashed into us. Just, people are out of their minds out there. You got nice shit, it's going to get trashed. And, no scuff Dean. If you listen to Dark Fonzie, me and Mark Maron, I go crazy over that shit. We're just pulling into the hotel about 1 mile an hour. Lady not looking, lighting a cigarette, just plows right into us. Just fucks up the night. And, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? At least we're alive. That's all I can think about these days as well. We got our health and we're alive. It's getting crazy out there. People are out of their minds. And I'm just going to try to stay positive and enjoy my life. That's what I'm going to do. I'll tell you one great thing that I did do. It was 106 degrees in Sacramento. So I said, let's get the fuck out of here. And we went to Oakland to Standard and the Strange, my favorite clothing store over there in the 510. And saw my boys Neil and Jeremy and just had great tacos and dove way into our clothing passion of boots, denim, leather jackets, and everything. I picked up a new jacket that's just insane, Y2K. I don't know. The store, the people, it's just a goddamn home run. Standard and Strange on Instagram. I love them. I had them on the podcast on The Grail, so go back and listen to that. The Grail has been kicking ass. So is At Home with Byron Katie, Dark Fonzie, all on my network, cactusradionetwork.com. Thank you for supporting that. I am getting ready to go to New York City. I will be there August 9th through the 14th, and I will be at the Stand every night. If you want to see me, head down there. And probably the Comedy Cellar. Haven't heard from them yet, but I know for a fact I'm doing about 15 spots at the Stand. And love those guys. Can't wait to eat food and laugh with all my friends there. I'm looking forward to going to the East Coast. Gertie is good. She's here. If you ordered any merch, the Dark Fonzie shirts, they're headed out this week, and the Gertie hoodies and t-shirts. Thank you so much for your support. Patreoners, I love you. Patreon.com/Dean Del Rey. Get all your bonus episodes and hang out with me on a Zoom Fest. Here are the new ones. Lee Davis, Brian Gleason, Chris Gossett, Mark Donovan, Lars Mortensen. And I want to give a special big love to Robin Yates and Steve McDonald for always going beyond on their donations and their friendship. Thank you so much. All right. Before we do get into the episode, I want to address something here that happened to me yesterday. And if you listen to Dark Fonzie, I do tend to get honest on there. I don't like to bother people on here with some stuff. I like to keep it positive and everything. But on Dark Fonzie with Marin, we do dive into some topics that are a little prickly to me. I tend to try to keep stuff pushed down, and life is real, and I don't know. It's tough for me. So when I'm sitting with Mark, it's great. It is a therapeutic in its own way. Two friends bouncing off problems and love and happiness. It's a mixed bag of emotions, which I love. And a couple episodes, we dug pretty deep into our dads and the problems that we had with our fathers growing up. And it's a really, really touchy subject with me. It's way more than a podcast episode could cover, and I'm sure it's a source of some of my lunacy. I'm absolutely sure of that. But yesterday I got an email and found out that my father had passed away. And I had seen him for a couple minutes about 5 years ago when I was doing a gig in Fresno. Other than that, I have not seen him since I was probably 21. And there are a lot of mixed emotions and feelings and weirdness to that. I look at it in two different ways. It has given me drive, and it is who I am, and I know that. And I can't change it, and I don't think I would. I don't ever look back and think about, I wish this happened or that. I've never done that. But, we were not close, and that's to put it bluntly. But it still is it's tough. That was my dad, and he passed away, sudden heart attack, 78 years old. So, I pour one out for him tonight. And I think about the early days of when we laughed together. All right. Let's get into it right now. And have a great week. Hug someone you love. Call them. Stay healthy. Keep the candles lit. Here he is, Mr. Jack Blades. Look at that, Jack Blades in the house. Where are you at, buddy?
I'm at my home up on above Seattle.
Oh wow! I actually was. I'd been to your house in Sonoma on that mountain years ago.
Yeah, exactly. My wife and I, we moved up to an island north of Seattle about 6-7 years ago. So
wow, how do you like it?
Love it. Love every minute of it. Just love it. Yeah. Every morning I wake up and pinch myself. I look across Puget Sound. We're right on the water, and look over to the Olympic mountain range. This is beautiful. And when the weather gets funky and the weather sucks, we just split. So it works out just fine.
That's got to be a big change from Palm Desert, huh?
Yeah. Where I was born. Yeah, slightly.
I only brought that up because during the pandemic, I was like, maybe I'll live in Palm Springs or Palm Desert or Joshua Tree, and I was out there hunting it down, and everybody ran from LA out there and drove the $200,000 homes up to like 800,000.
Right. That's basically what's happening out here too. It's the same thing. Everybody's like, moving from Seattle over to places where they can just kind of be on an island and enjoy life, so there you go.
Strange world. Just everybody wants to be isolated. Really bizarre.
I know. Not me. I want to go out and rock and roll.
Yeah. I saw some video of you guys playing a few weeks ago, like on some river front. It was pretty damn rocking.
We've done some shows. The last few shows we played Rock Fest, which is up in Cadott, Wisconsin, and then we played the Moondance Jam, which is up, way up in Minnesota, northern Minnesota. Maybe it was one of those things with the lake behind them or something like that.
I'll tell you what, I go way, way back with Night Ranger, all the way back to Petaluma Phoenix Theater, Guitar Wars, Cinema versus Ranger.
Whoa, you got to be kidding me. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. I actually know you guys from a long time ago when I was a kid, about 12 or 13, rooting for Ranger to beat Mike Varney, who was my friend. But Ranger had Don't Tell Me You Love Me. And I was like, as a 13-year-old, I'm like, that's a goddamn hit,
Mike, I love Mike Varney. We're still friends. I love it.
Yeah, great dude. But it's amazing to grow up in the Bay Area and think about all of that music that we had there. Journey, Gamma, Montrose, Night Ranger, Airplane, Starship. But there was that thing, that Huey Lewis
in the News. Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah. Uncle Charlie's New Georges.
My gosh.
Hagar,
I got to, believe me, we all have stories of that stuff, man. When I first moved to the Bay Area in 1975, there was I was living in San Francisco, and there were all these clubs, all around that, on Clement Street. We'd be playing, we'd be jamming in one club, and all the guys from Santana would be in the other club, and the guys from the Airplane would be in another club, and they'd come over and jam, and everybody was jamming. It was music in the air. There was music constantly, live music, like creative music, everybody creating, everybody doing it. And it was the same thing back in the, when we put together Night Ranger back in the early 80s. Everything was just, it was 1980 April of 1980 when we, really put the band together. And I lived in Mill Valley. Fitz was my roommate. And he had just come off the road. Of course, he was bass player with Gamma and with Montrose on the second album. And then he was playing keyboards with Sammy Hagar. And he said, "Hey, why don't we put a rock band together?" And I had just gotten out of Rubicon, which was this funk rock band started with by Jerry Martini, the sax player for Sly and the Family Stone. Brad and I were in that band, and Kelly was the touring drummer at the end of the band. So he said, "Why don't you bring your three guys?" And I know this guy from Sacramento, this kid from Sacramento, Jeff Watson, and boom, that's how Night Ranger formed on a street in Mill Valley in 1980. What was that street? Morning Sun. Wow. Morning Sun, right almost right at Tam Junction. It's pretty crazy.
Well, I tell you, there was that time in the Bay Area where, Y&T, of course, being the kings of that, you could just tour the Bay Area all week and make a living. Like you play Keystone, Palo Alto, then you're at the Stone, then you're at the Katati Cabaret. Yeah, right, Keystone, Berkeley. And then you're down at the Cactus Club or whatever. It's just, you could play every night.
We even played the Mabuhay Gardens on Broadway,
Oh, yeah.
I remember that when we first started out, it was like 1979, we played the Mabuhay Gardens, and that was when punk was coming on really strong, and everybody's like rocking. And we were rocking out, and we were playing, and guys in the audience were yelling, Deep Purple, 1975. And we're thinking, oh, yeah, fucking right on. And they were bagging on us. Oh. You know what I'm saying? They were bagging on us. And we're like, yeah, hell yeah. That's what we, and we thought, and we're like, oh, that was an insult. Oh, okay. Got it.
The Mabuhay was so cool. The guy that ran that or owned it, Ness, he was great.
Oh, yeah, it was out. The Dead Kennedys. Everybody can,
Devo, Blonde, everyone.
Exactly. Everybody came out of that place.
And then you had the Stone across the street with the Corona, Big Bob Corona and Freddie Herrera. And it was just rock and roll was everywhere in the Bay Area.
Everywhere.
It was
everywhere.
Wild.
There was music. It was like that Dylan song. There was music in the cafes at night, and revolution in the air. You know what I mean? It was just everywhere you went, there was live music. It was great. It was like a musician's dream. You know what I mean? It was really great.
I just remember being at the finals for the Guitar Wars, I'm up front and you guys won that. And,
that was Petaluma.
Yeah. At the Phoenix Theater
in Petaluma. Oh yeah. And we used to play at the Palms Cafe when we first started out on Polk Street. There was a little bitty, that place held like 80 people. And Huey Lewis, that was back when it was called Huey Lewis and American Express. That was their
Wow.
name of their band before they had to change it for obvious reasons. But they'd come in and watch us, then we go and see them play somewhere. And it was really like this cross pollination of music and everything like that going on.
Can you tell me, because I want to do a documentary on Dan the Green, but can you tell me what it was like to play Cal Jam and Rubicon? Because that is a massive, massive event. Cal Jam 1, of course, and then you guys played 2. What was that like?
It was pretty amazing. I mean, there were 250,000 people out there or something like that. It was, and it was the first, major big gig that the Rubicon, our band Rubicon, was, had played like anything like that. And it was just massive. I mean, we came in helicopters and, landed there, and then we've seen just hundreds of thousands of people out there, and get up on this massive stage that was just so big. It was just stretching off forever and ever and ever. And we just got up there, and it was a real experience. You know what I mean? And I remember, it's so funny because next to us, our dressing room, we had a trailer, and next to us was Ted's trailer, Ted Nugent's trailer.
Yeah.
Ted headlined, Ted and Aerosmith, I think headlined that, like the afternoon Ted played, and then the evening Aerosmith played or something like that. But Ted he'd just come in from Africa, and something happened, and everybody came running in. It's like, we're sitting in our dressing room, and all of a sudden Ted smashed both his hands through the wall of his dressing room of the trailer. You know what I mean? He just crashed it. Evidently his band was like screwing him around or something like that. And he fired his band when he walked off the stage that very day. And Ted and I, when we were in the Damn Yankees, would always joke about that and talk about that. I'm like, dude, we were in the freaking dressing room next to him. He goes, yeah, I was so pissed off. And it was like pretty wild, all the stories that we have.
That festival is monumental. I met the guy later that put it on. He owned that incredible recording studio in LA called Village Recorder. And he's like, you want to see some shit? And he took me back there. He just had everything, the passes, the shirts, the hats, photos and video. But I love that stuff because it's, those festivals as we were growing up are just so insane because it's really where you learn about rock and roll. Even the Mountain Air Festival in Calaveras County. Remember those?
Yeah,
I went and saw you guys there.
Oh, yeah. We played those like 3 or 4 times. And those things were great. Once played with ZZ. We played with everybody. We played with when Men at Work first came out.
Yeah.
Petty. Mountain Air was a great thing because it was right, it was right in our neck of the woods. I mean, we all lived in Marin County or Sonoma County. And so it was just right over the hills into the Calaveras, and all that kind of stuff. And Mountain Air was great. I mean, that was a massive amount of people spread out everywhere. Those shows were great. They
were fantastic.
That was absolutely wonderful, wonderful, wonderful times.
I mean, how amazing was Bill Graham when you think about this man, what he did for the music scene and the music world?
Bill was amazing. Bill was a big fan of our band. I mean, Bill would he put us on shows before we even had a record deal. I mean, he put us on shows and stuff like that. And it's like, he brought us on. I wish I had a tape somewhere with that voice of his, like, ladies and gentlemen, this is a band you're going to see a lot of in the future. Please welcome Ranger. He said Ranger. That was when we were Ranger, not Night Ranger. And like, some big outdoor festival with all these bands like Loverboy and Rick Springfield in Sacramento in 1981. Before we even had anything out or anything, he put us on Sammy's tour. We toured. Sammy did a thing called Taking It to the People, and we played with him all over the Northern California area and stuff like that.
I went to those.
Back in 1981.
Marin Civic, San Jose.
Marin Civic.
I got the shirt. It was right at the Danger Zone tour,
Oh, that was crazy.
Taking it to the people.
I was taking it to the people. I mean, hey, Sam's great. Sam still to this day is great. I mean, we toured with them, just like, before COVID hit, and our tour was supposed to be in January in 2020. It was supposed to be, Night Ranger, Whitesnake, Hagar, Sammy. And then I think next year we're going to be, Sammy and Night Ranger going out for 2022. But Sam put us on right when we released the first album, Dawn Patrol. He put us on this tour for the 3 Lock Box tour. And so that was our first, major tour across the country. Sam has so much to do with the success of Night Ranger, man. He really pumped us and really helped us out. And we just, and to this day, we always joke about it. And boy, do those boys know how to drink tequila too, man. That got us into a bad habit. Now that's all we do is like before shows, we all take a shot of tequila and stuff like that. It's like, it's like a ritual now for Night Ranger, and we got that from touring with Sam for the last, for a few years and stuff like that. But Bill Graham was so like great with new bands and with us and everything like that. And he took such good care of us. I mean, one time he put us on a show with Judas Priest.
Henry J. Kaiser.
At Kaiser. Yeah. At Kaiser. They put us on that show and we get in there and Judas Priest, like tour manager, was just like this short little English dude. And those English roadies are badass motherfuckers. I mean, those guys are like, those men, they'll cut your fucking cables. They'll do their blood, it's like cutthroat back there in England and shit back then in the 70s and 80s, man. Those guys, like, that's the way it was. So this guy came in, we're this new band that had nothing going on. And he takes away all our food from our room, gives it all the juice, took away everything, stuck us in this little freaking broom closet for a dressing room and everything like that. And so check this out, man. Bill came to see what was going on with the show, and Bill walked down to us and everything like that, and said, came to our room and kind of looked around the room, going, "Wow, it's kind of," he said, "Well, how's it going, guys?" and everything. And we're like, "Oh, we're so glad, Bill. Thanks so much for putting us on here. We're so glad to be here, but man, their tour managers cut us off and everything. Took all our, where's your food?" He said. They took all our rider. They took everything. He took all our food and, took everything away. And he goes, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Yeah." And they wouldn't let us have a sound check with this and that. And he goes, "I'll be right back." So he gets out our door, walks down the hallway. And we're all like the freaking, we're like a Brady Bunch. We're all like looking out, like standing in the doorway, like all the heads stacked up against each other, watching him. And he goes down the hall and sees the road manager down there. And he gets in that little that guy's face. He was like, "What the fuck do you think you're doing? This is my band. These are my people. This is my town. You don't do that. You put everything back in the room. I want them to another room. I want them to." He just like was hounding him. We're all like, and we're just, we're just all 20-year-old kids going, "What the?" I'm like wide open. He's like, "Just freaking Ben." And then the guy's like, "Okay, Bill. Okay, Bill. Yeah, got a Bill. Yeah, right, Bill. Anything you want, Bill. Got a Bill." It's like that. And so he turns around and starts walking away, and we all like scramble up and like just sit down in our chairs like we're, like we didn't see anything. We're all just kind of sitting around. And Bill comes walking in. And he goes, "Well, don't think you guys will have any more trouble tonight about anything." So anyway, what's going on? It just went right back into like cool Bill. You know what I mean? It was freaking awesome, man. Oh. I mean, that memory will stay with me for the rest of my life.
I was at that show. It was spectacular, and you guys killed. And Priest was on the Point of Entry tour. They had the amazing stage with the boxes. They came from underground, opened with Solar Angels. But, you guys were able to walk that line of, you had these kind of hits, but then you had Eddie's Coming Out Tonight. Don't Tell Me You Love Me was really rocking. And so you could play, you could open for a Priest, or you could play with Huey, or you could play, with Foreigner. It was just kind of like you could just go all over the board. And because I think a lot of that had to do with how damn rocking the live show was.
Dude, I mean, that's what we did in the very beginning. And to this day, not last weekend, the weekend before last, we were put on Rockfest, which was up in Cadott, Wisconsin. And on that bill, let me see, it was right, like we went on, and right after we went on, Phil Anselmo, who's lead singer for Pantera with his band, with Phil Anselmo and the Illegals were on. Then Corey Taylor, who's a great friend of ours, friend of mine. So Corey's a buddy of mine and everything like that. So we were excited about playing together and all that kind of stuff. So Corey, of course, Slipknot and everything. Corey's freaking great, dude.
I love him.
Guy's what a talented human being. Yeah, and then it's like it was just all these like metal stuff. So we go out there and we're thinking about going, what do we do? And it's like, dude, it's just like what Alice Cooper once told Kerry Kelly when he went on to a big festival in Europe or something like that. He told Kerry, Kerry and the bass player Chuck came backstage to him and said, "Man, these bands are heavy, dude. These bands are heavy. We better play all our heavy stuff," to Alice. And Alice was sitting in the back of the bus. He goes, "Guys, we do what we do. Okay? We just go out and we play our show. That's what we do." And I had that in the back of my head, and I'm thinking, this is going to be like, this audience is like heavy. I don't know, Danzig. I mean, all these bands were on the show and everything like that. And so we're like, well, let's just go out and do our show. So we just went out there, and I talked to Corey backstage. I said to Corey, I said, dude, you want it? He said, oh, don't tell me you love me. I love Don't Tell Me You Love Me. I said, come on out and sing it. Second verse. You need the words? I can write down the words for you. He goes, fuck no, I don't need the words. Are you kidding me? I know the words by heart. And I'm like, okay. So I said, okay, I'll call you out. And he said, you got it. So we're playing, we start the song. We're playing after the end of the first chorus. I look around. He's been watching the whole show. He and the guys' band. Great band, by the way, the CMFT band.
Killer.
I mean, that great stuff. A great album, by the way.
Yep.
But, and so they're all watching the whole show and stuff like that. And I'm like, he looks and he goes, I said, come on out. And he goes, you sure? And I just grabbed my mic and walked her right back to him. I said, go. He came out there and freaking did the second verse of Don't Tell. It was freaking great. The audience was like, wow. From that point on, we could do, the audience, it was just great. I mean, but that's what it's like playing these kind of shows and everything like that. All the bands, they kind of grew up listening to Night Ranger, or knowing our songs and everything like that. And so a lot of them, they're just up there, just, watching us and checking it all out and stuff like that during our whole show and everything. It's great. When music is music, it doesn't matter. I mean, Phil Anselmo's walking around going, Brad Gillis in the house, Brad Gillis in the house, Brad Gillis in the house. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's all great. So to your point, even right up, you were talking about way back when we were playing with everybody, and it's like, to this very day, that's what we can still do. I mean, the other night we played with Hailstorm. I mean, they headlined the show. We played right before them. The audience was like, yeah, the audience was singing our song just as loud as anything. And then Hailstorm came out, which is an amazing band. Oh, yeah. I mean, Lizzie Hale is a freaking unbelievable guitar player. And that band is so tight and so freaking big sounding and so wonderful. But I mean, who would ever think that Night Ranger would be playing with Hailstorm and all this kind of stuff? So, but I mean, that's still the way it is, because basically, when it all comes down to it, we're a kick-ass American rock and roll band. And that's what we've always been. That's what we always will be. And that's who we are.
Yeah, man. I mean, you guys smoke it. Like, every time I saw you guys smoke it. Let's talk a little bit about when you first get into songwriting, because you have wrote some monster hits. And you have wrote for a lot of other people, Aerosmith and Cher and Alice Cooper and a lot of other people, of course, Damn Yankees. And when you're first writing, do you recognize the power of Don't Tell Me You Love Me right away? Because as a kid, I knew that's a hit. I grew up on KFRC out there in the Bay Area. They played a lot of the hits, and you just recognized, like, that's a damn good song. Did you know right away when you were writing it, like, this is a hit? You could tell with the audience.
I think when you come up with stuff, you don't think about that, and you don't even, you just come up with something that feels real good to you. You know what I mean? As long as you're true to your soul and true to your heart, because really songwriting, that's about as close as you're ever going to get to seeing into someone's soul. When they're writing the words and writing the lyrics and writing music and stuff like that, that's who they are. You know what I mean? So, I mean, you write songs and you just like Don't Tell Me You Love Me, or You Can Still Rock in America. And you don't think about that when you're writing them. You're just thinking about, I just want to write this idea came to my head. It's like sometimes you're just like a vessel. Hey, this is a great idea. I'm just going to do this. And I'm going to put it down. And when it hits, when it strikes a note in other people, I guess all you can be is like, so fortunate that it does the same thing, like the song 4 in the Morning. I mean, I literally wrote that at 4 in the morning. I mean, the song Goodbye, I wrote that about my brother who died of a drug overdose. And I never really got to say goodbye to him. But it's touched so many other people, man. And that's the main thing. That's the greatest gift for a songwriter is when you write a song and you're pouring out your heart and soul in it, and other people feel that same thing in their heart and soul. You know what I mean? And then they play the song, and it hits them at the same spot that it hits you when you wrote it. You know what I mean? And so, and that's the biggest, that's got to be, that's the greatest gift and compliment that any songwriter could have, is people pick up on that. I mean, I write a song and create a song, and, people, we go to tour in Japan, and it's like people on the other side of the world, in another culture, with another language, are freaking singing it. You know what I mean? I mean, that just, to this day, I never take that for granted, man. I never take that for granted. I feel like we're the most blessed people on earth because that kind of stuff happens. You know what I mean?
Well, the early days is when it's really interesting in songwriting because I played music for 25 years and pre-record deal is when you're putting together that set list and you go, well, don't tell me you love me. The people really like that one. I'm talking, that's when an organic hit is happening because it's not on the air and it's not on a record and it might be on a demo being passed around, but it's really wild to watch the energy of an audience choose like, wow, this is the tune right here. Eddie's coming out tonight, you know, and you can feel it. It's really wild when it's that organic at the beginning of a band.
Well, you know, when you're first starting out, it's so funny because bands, you know, I mean, you know, they work and hone in on all those songs because you're playing live and nobody even knows the song. So you're doing everything you can to really get them over, right? To get people to really kind of like dig the songs and relate to them and hear what they're doing. And so you work really hard on that first core group of songs you have. And that's the big problem. It's like they call it the sophomore jinx.
Of course.
And that's what happens with, you know, then you got to immediately, you have a big hit with a record. We sell 1 million copies with Dawn Patrol. And then you got to go right in the studio and cut another album right away and like go ahead. And it's like, they call it the sophomore jinx. But luckily for us, we'd already written Sister Christian. And then I wrote, you know, You Can Still Rock in America when we were on tour with Sammy and stuff like that. So we had some, you know, ammunition in our back pocket to throw out. But that's what happens. You work so hard on those first series of songs. Then you got to do it again. And that, you know, and it's like, wow. But we were very fortunate that like our second album was you know, our biggest album, you know, and all that kind of stuff. But it's interesting what you're talking about. Like for the audience, I got to tell you a story. When we were with the Damn Yankees, we were on tour and we were down in Florida and we'd released Coming of Age. Coming of Age was our first single off the first Damn Yankees album. And everybody was digging this. The place is sold out. The place is packed. We're on tour with, I think it was Bad Company and Night Ranger or something like that. And so, and everything, you know, we're playing and all this stuff. And then we said, you know, we're coming out with High Enough. And that was going to be released like that week or that same, like in the next couple of weeks, that was going to be our next single. And so we're like, okay, we got to work it up. So we played it. We're like, okay, here's the song. This is our next single. We're going to do this song. And so we're out there and we start doing High Enough. And, you know, 10,000 people are just politely listening to the song, you know, and it, you know, the whole song's finished. And then 10,000 people politely, you know, applaud and wait for us to go into the next big freaking Damn Yankees major song and stuff like that. And we're like going, wow, that's okay. Well, that kind of went weird. And so, okay. Fast forward 4 months. The song's a #1 record, massive song across the country, being played like, you know, on every radio station 15 times a day, all that stuff. We're touring. We go right back to the same venue in Florida, Tampa, the Sun Dome or whatever it was, the same place, the same thing, probably the same freaking audience, you know.
Yeah.
6 months later, we're there and we're going, and Tommy just gets up there and he just hits the guitar and starts strumming the guitar for the first strumming notes of High Enough, and the fucking place erupts and is in pandemonium for the 4.5 minutes the song is on. And in the end, we're like people are freaking out, standing ovation. And we're like laughing at each other going, 6 months ago, these people couldn't give a shit about this song. And here it is, like, you know, it's like the biggest thing since sliced bread for these folks. And it was like, that's the power of a hit single. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And so when you're talking about Don't Tell Me You Love Me, you're talking about When You Can Still Rock in America, Sister Christian, you know, you're talking about 4 in the Morning, you're talking about Sentimental Street, Goodbye, you're talking about all these songs and stuff like that. That's the power of a hit record. And then with the Damn Yankees, the same thing with, you know, Coming of Age and High Enough and, you know, everything that we did with that band. So, you know, I mean, that's the power of a song, just like you were talking about, like you're working it out, like you knew Don't Tell Me You Love Me. Well, I don't know. We knew it was a rockin' track. Did we know it was going to be a big hit on #1 song on rock radio and really launch the band's career? No, but we loved it. We played it because, and we put every bit of our heart and soul in it every time we played it. You know what I mean? And you know what? To this day, we still do that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Let me ask you a little bit about Boardwalk. Were labels passing on you guys, and Boardwalk was, because Boardwalk was what, like an indie, or what was the history of Boardwalk Records?
Well, everybody, you know, we're shopping our demo deal that had like, you know, Sister Kristen on it.
Wow.
And then a bunch of like 3 or 4 other tracks, but everybody passed on us twice.
Wow.
Every label, everybody, some of the labels said, oh man, there's 10 bands in the Midwest that can kick this band's ass. And we're like, fuck man, we know we can do this. We know we got something here. We know we got it. We had Don't Tell Me You Love Me, and well, I don't know if I think we did. And it's like, we had all these things going on. We're like, man, we know we can kick it out. And so we had this one. Boardwalk Records had Joan Jett and the Blackhearts. They had I Love Rock and Roll. So they were just coming off with a lot of money from I Love Rock and Roll. It was a big hit right at that moment. And it was formed by Neil Bogart, who was the guy, the brainchild behind Casablanca Records, Kiss, Donna Summer, you name it. I mean, massive stuff. And they said, and Boardwalk, we took it to Boardwalk and they said, yeah, we hear this. We like this. Okay, let's give them a record deal. So we were on Boardwalk Records. And then, so we released our first album. We have 1 million records out there. We're on tour with Hagar on the 3 Lock Box Tour, middle of 1983. And we call our record company. It's like, there's no answer. We're like, what's going on? And then all of a sudden, nothing else happened. It's like Boardwalk went out of business. And we're like, where's all our money for a freaking million records that we just sold?
Neil Bogart comes again, strikes again.
It's like gone. It's like they closed shop and everything like that. So our manager pulled us off the road, immediately went into a studio and started cutting the Midnight Madness album. And while we were doing that, he just flipped us and put us right over on MCA, and they just formed Camel MCA Records, and that was that. But I mean, we were just like, it was like, wow, that label didn't last long. Neil died. He died of cancer. And then the other guys took over the thing, and it's just like 6 months later, it was like down the toilet. So anyway.
What happened with the rights for Dawn Patrol?
We cut the deal with, if we went with MCA, which is now Universal, we cut the deal with like, okay, here's the deal. You guarantee the royalties for Dawn Patrol and we'll go with you.
Wow.
Because other labels at that point, everybody, we're like Warner Brothers wanted us, Columbia was, and so we had lots of choices and everything like that. But MCA said, you got it. We'll do it.
So they gave you the back royalties on that.
Yeah, they guaranteed our royalties for the Dawn Patrol album.
Wow.
So we actually got paid, and everything like that. So that's how we ended up with MCA, Camel/MCA.
Let me ask you about your history with Hamer basses, because that really was your thing. As I watched you over the years, I never saw you really play another bass. Hamer in the 70s being one of the greatest guitar companies of all time. What made you select that Hamer? Was it the shape, or did you just happen to get it at like Leo's Music, or what was happening?
No, what happened was originally, here's my original bass. This is a great story too. Let me grab this. This is my original bass that I was playing. You'll see it on the Dawn Patrol album. It's an SD Curly.
Oh yeah,
it's an SD Curly bass. I don't know if you can see the file there. SD Curly. Anyway, so this is my original bass that I was playing, that you'll see on the pictures on the inside of the album of the Midnight Madness album, and also the posters of Dawn Patrol and everything like that, and all the pictures of the first record and stuff like that. So this is the bass I was playing. So we're in cutting our second album, and Hamer actually came to me. I don't know where we were. We were at the record plant in LA, or we were at our studio in LA, and Hamer came to me and said, hey, we could make you a bass. We'll make you a Jack Blades bass. It'd be really cool. It'll have the same kind of vibe, like a double cutaway and everything like that. We'll make that for you and create a bass. And I'm like, okay, let's check it out. So they made it, and actually I think they had it made already and brought it into me. And I'm like, I freaking love this thing.
Wow.
I love this. So from that point on, I just played Hamers and the Hamer Jack Blades bass. I don't think I have one out. I have a bunch of them in my cases over here. And then here's a great Hamer bass that they made for me. It's we call it the White Falcon, but it's like a beautiful, but it's like a cutaway, and it's almost like we call it the Night Falcon. It's almost like a Gretsch White Falcon. I wanted to have a bass that looked like, like a White Falcon, like a Gretsch thing. So they made me a semi-hollow bass and stuff like that. But now at this stage of the game, I keep all my basses, all the good ones and everything like that, in my studio, because I don't want to lose them or anything like that. I don't want to get them, I don't want them to get all messed up on the road or broken or stolen or something like that. And so I had a great company in Mesa, Arizona, that copied, that really, really dove into my, my Hamer, and they made me exact, like to the millimeter, everything, exact copies of my original, my original basses from Hamer. And those are what I have on the road right now.
What's the name of that company?
That name is Atomic Guitars, and they're out of Mesa, Arizona. Atomic Guitars. So that's what I play on stage, and they're like my Hamers. You know what I mean? But I keep all my Hamers kind of under lock and key now.
Can you tell me a little bit about what happened to Fitz? He was such a big deal in my life, and being in Gamma. I mean, Gamma was just, those first two Gamma records are masterpieces. Gamma 1, Gamma 2.
Yeah.
I mean, Davey Pattison, Ronnie Montrose, those records are unbelievable. And then Fitz was kind of floating around in all these bands. And what happened to Fitz? Is he still alive?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Fitz is retired. Retired now. He lives in Florida. He's just retired. He's kind of like, he was a lot older than all of us, and he was, and so he's kind of, he's retired. He left Night Ranger in 99 or 2000, maybe 2000, 2001 or something like that, because we didn't want to work that much. And he wanted to keep working and touring. So he ended up being the, of course, keyboard tech for Van Halen. He'd play the keys behind the curtain for Van Halen. And he was on tour with Whitney Houston and as a keyboard tech and everything like that. And so, yeah, he was, he just kept working and working and working, not as a playing musician, but more of a technician backstage and everything like that. And so, yeah, that's what he's still around and stuff like that,
What a player, man. I mean, and
oh yeah.
And he really, embraced the, of course you had like Devo and you had Kraftwerk and they were all getting into the Moog world and everything. But Fitz really grabbed onto that and made his own sound and stuff like Gamma and Night Ranger, where it was just really, it wasn't like your typical, say, Jonathan kind of, Don't Stop Believing keys. These were like edgy keys that had ripping riffs and everything. This guy, and he had a look up there with the shades and the beard and the hat. He had it.
Right. Yeah. Fitz was great. We really loved it. And it was, he was a very instrumental in the band and everything like that. And he was the elder statesman, because we were just a bunch of kids like, oh, wow. And then Fitz had been on tour for years before us and everything like that. So he was kind of like the elder statesman and everything like that. It was really nice.
Can you tell me a little bit about what happened with Jeff Watson? Because I don't know that. I don't know if it's drama or whatever, but he hasn't been in the band in years. I ran into him a couple of years ago at a NAMM show, and I was blown away. I was like, whoa, there's Jeff Watson. I haven't seen this guy. I mean, I knew that guy when he was a kid and I was a kid, but what happened to him? Did it just run its course?
Yeah, it just ran its course. I mean, everybody just kind of like, how everybody a lot of times goes in different directions and everything like that. And with Jeff, it just ran its course, and we did it very properly and very Boy Scout. And we just had a separation of everybody and the band and Jeff. And that's how it's been. And it's been, I think it was about 2007 or something like that. So it's been like, 15 years or something like that. I mean, Jeff's a great player. Jeff played great guitar on all those things. Jeff and Brad played great stuff and everything like that. And, I've been blessed to have played with some freaking great guitar players. I mean, come on. I mean, Brad Gillis, Jeff Watson. I mean, now with Kerry Kelly and Joel Hoekstra, before that with Night Ranger, and then of course with Revolution Saints, Doug Aldrich, and I was in this band TMG with Tak Matsumoto, the Japanese guitarist from the Bees, who's just the most amazing guitarist on the planet. And then there's like Nugent, Ted, the Nuge, and Tommy Shaw is an amazing guitar player. People have no idea how great of a guitar player Tommy Shaw is.
Oh, that guy is sick.
Tommy is just like, it's sick how good of a guitar player Tommy is. And then Neil Sean's my dear friend. And Neil and I've written songs. I've written songs for Journey. I've written songs on Neil's solo record. Neil's written songs with me on my solo record. We played together, and I'm blessed to have played with some brilliant guitar players. And I guess now at the point, it's like, I can't, I won't stand for anything less. You know what I mean?
So, oh yeah. Yeah. It was amazing what Brad and Jeff brought to the table, it was like you took the Thin Lizzy dual guitar and then took it to another level. And the great thing about those two guys was Jeff had this completely insane kind of piano playing on the fretboard. And then Brad was really getting into the Floyd Rose of that, the bumblebee slapping of that thing, getting his sound. And Brad really had crazy moves and everything. And it was a show.
That 8-finger piano.
Yeah.
And his picking, like on Goodbye, like great. His articulation, everything like that. Yeah, it just worked out. It just worked out great. I mean, there were two distinct styles and everything like that. And we're very fortunate to have somebody like Kerry Kelly playing with us right now that's very much can translate a lot of that stuff and play a lot of stuff and does 8-finger things on the solos and all that, and all that kind of thing. And even songs like on our new album, the ATBPO album, I mean, really, Night Ranger, we were big fans of Thin Lizzy. I mean, if you think about it, think about it, when we formed in 1980, Thin Lizzy was like, it was like the hype, man. It was like, 80, 81. I mean, we were big Lizzy fans. I mean, 2 guitars, a bass player that sings. I mean, the only difference is we had Fitz. We had a keyboard player.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But everything else was like, I mean, we were huge Lizzy fans, huge Lizzy fans. So we were very, very much that. And on this new album, there's even a song, there's a couple songs that you can really hear the Lizzy influence, coming through.
The new record is heavy as shit. It's called And the Band Played On. And it opens up, first of all, that song Breakout, it's the 3rd song on the record. It is just a smoker, but the opening song is, it comes on, I go, holy shit, these guys are going for the rock. I'm loving this, like right away out of the gate. I was like, this is fiercely rocking. And you don't need to do that. You could be at the point of your career where you're just like, yeah, we do the ballads. That's what Night Ranger does. We're like Train, we do the ballads. But no, man, this thing is a smoker.
Yeah, we're like, whenever we start something, whenever we get something going, it's like, watch out, because we're going to fricking swing for the fences, bro. And right off the bat, it's like, that's what we do. It's like, we're not messing around. We're just going to go right for the fence right now. Let's just fricking nail it. And that's what we did with the song. Yeah. With the title, with the first song on the record and everything, it's just, the song's so hard to make it easy is real Thin Lizzy influence. I mean, I Want to Dance is a real, like, an ode to COVID, like, it's like, I want to be with people. I want to be together. Then there's Cold as December. That's just a furious rock song. Monkey's a furious rock song. Of course, Breakout. And then we always have the ballads. They're always, like When You Can't Afford a Hero. And I think personally, Kelly sang, the ballad that Kelly sings on the record is probably, I think it's one of his best vocal performances in probably decades. You know what I mean? I mean, it's just, there's some great stuff on this record. I can't wait till next week when it gets released. August 6th is the release date. So it's going to be really, really good.
Your guys' vocals are unreal. Who was your vocal inspiration coming up? Because you have a really unique and original style. It's not like I hear you and go, oh, well, I know where he's coming from on this. It's very unique and natural. Who were your guys growing up?
Man, I was always, I know it's cliche-ish, but I was always a big Beatles fan, know? I mean, if you see, I mean, they've got 2 singers in every band that I've, it's like Damn Yankees with Tommy and me and Night Ranger with Kelly and me and stuff like that. And I mean, Simon and Garfunkel harmonies, you know what I mean? I don't know. I just think I developed my, who I am and what I did, but with all music coming in because, I was really into British rock and, Zeppelin, Deep Purple, Cream. I mean, early stuff, you know what I mean? All that kind of stuff. And I'd listen to that and I just loved all that kind of, Traffic, everything like that, coming out of England, everything like that. And then I got totally into Sly and the Family Stone, the Brothers Johnson, I mean, those kind of, funk rock bands. And that was the band Rubicon, of course, which I played slap style and it was just a complete, 7-piece, funk rock band. It was like with horns and everything like that. It was, and so that influenced me and the singing of Sly influenced me. And I think I took a little bit from everything and I just opened my mouth and started singing. And you just can't help from hearing stuff. And to this day, I still hear things that I go, wow, that's great. I mean, Chris Cornell's voice, God bless him. He was one of the greatest rock singers, I think, of all time, and everything like that. And you hear, of course, Led Zeppelin, I couldn't sing Up in the Trees like those motherfuckers. I mean, those guys are like, that when Zeppelin came out, then every singer had to be a high freaking singer.
Oh, yeah. That happened in the 80s again, too. When the 80s came, Still of the Night, all that.
Everybody, yeah, all those guys, had to sing like way up in the trees. But we didn't do that. We sang the way we sang, you know what I mean? And we kind of did our thing and everything like that. And we developed our own style. And that's kind of how we ended up. And that's how it was it's just who we were. It's how we came out and who we were. And to this day, I think it still develops. I mean, I think the vocals on the ATBPO album, the new album that we have out, are just freaking killer vocals, big choruses. I'm singing parts that I didn't even realize I could sing. You know what I mean? I'm thinking to myself, holy shit, I hope we don't have to do this live. You know what I mean?
That's the worst, right? You're in the studio and you're like, well, I can just grease this up high and on a long scream. And then you get out there and you're like, I got to do this nightly. What was I thinking?
Yeah. It's like, exactly. It's like you take 20 minutes trying to get to that, get to that real high note or something like that. And then you got like, I got to do this every night. What on the hell? It's like Breakout. It's like, don't you know, get it right. You think you got too much at stake to lose this fight. It shreds the shit out of your vocals and stuff like that. But I got to sing that now. So it's like, wow. Okay. Well, I got to watch that the next time.
Was the reason Kelly played on the side like you guys do was because he also sang so much so you could see him? Was that the original idea?
Well, that was part of it. But originally the idea was we were opening for everybody. And, there's no room on the stage because everybody had their shit. And if we put the drum riser right in the center, I'd have about, 2 inches between me and the front of the frickin' stage. Right.
Right.
And so we came up with the idea, let's put Kelly on the side, put him sideways because he sings. He'll direct out to the audience like that and be singing and playing because he sings and everything like that. So they'll see him better. And then we'll put Fitz on the opposite side to balance it out. And then Jeff and Brad and I can just, run around, and do our thing. And I'll be the mic in the middle and they'll be like there. And then we'll do all that stuff. And so it was just originally because we could have more room, what I mean? And we just started, once we started headlining and everything, we're like, we'll just keep it up, we'll just keep doing it like that. I mean, I remember the story that when I was playing with Ringo Starr, we did VH1 Storytellers and we did, Letterman and Lennon, all those shows and everything like that.
You just said when I played with Ringo Starr.
I know. I still
like Beatles were your live and you're like, yeah. And then when I played with Ringo Starr, you played bass with Ringo Starr.
But I remember Ringo after we got after he got used to us after a while, he started telling us Beatles stories, which was the greatest thing in the world. We're like sitting down at Yoda's knees going, Ringo, tell us a story. And he's well, Jack, back when but he was telling us a story about, he said, people always ask him like, what was your technique in the studio and how did you do it? And this part of the guitar sounded so great. He says, you know how it happened? He said, the amp was in the other room. The microphone cable only went this far and it was 20 feet away. So we had to turn everything up because we couldn't stretch the mic any closer to the thing. He said, yeah, that's the secret to our sound. It's like, we just had to do it because we had no other way to do it. You know what I mean? I mean, it's like necessity is the mother of invention, right? I mean, he told us that story, which was just amazing. And so it was kind of the same thing with our stage setup with Night Ranger. It's just, that's how it happened. We started out that way to make it easier for us. And we just kept with it. And that became sort of a signature trademark thing with Night Ranger.
Can you tell me how you get the call for Ringo and how this happens and what were you thinking when you get the call? Because did you know Ringo before or how does this happen?
No, I had never met him, but a friend of mine was working with him and everything like that. And he said, come on, man, I'm putting a band together and let's get, why don't you play bass and do the whole thing? I'm like, yeah, you think? Okay. Yeah. How soon do you need me? I'll be there tonight. You know what I mean? So we went over, we got over there, set everything up, started rehearsing in LA and then went over to England for 2 weeks and rehearsed. And I mean, dude, I'm on a rooftop rehearsing and taking pictures with a Beatle. I mean, one time it was amazing. Ringo walked in. This is the greatest experience. Ringo hadn't shown up yet, and we're all on stage and we're just kind of playing around. And Ringo had another. It was like Joe Walsh was there, and myself, and a couple of the other guys in the band and everything like that. And Simon Kirk was playing drums with us also.
Amazing.
Ringo would have two drummers out there, and Simon. I've known Simon since the Damn Yankees days, touring with Bad Company and everything. So we're really good friends and everything like that. And so we're playing and we're sitting up on stage and we started playing Ticket to Ride, And I'm up on the mic. I'm going, I think I'm gonna be sad. I think it's and Ringo comes walking in the back of the hall where we were rehearsing. Ringo and Barbara Bach, and he's, Ringo walks in. He's just kind of with his hands behind his back, just walking in, listening to everything, going, And all of a sudden, he hears what we're playing. And he goes, and he starts running up. He's just like running up, and he gets behind the drums, and he starts, and so he's playing it. I'm looking over my shoulder. There's Ringo Starr playing that drum pattern, and I'm up there singing Ticket to Ride. Wow. And I thought at that moment I had died and gone to heaven. That was it. That was it. It was like, that was all, the whole reason I'm in the music business. This was the whole reason I even do anything for this very moment. I mean, I have goosebumps now just thinking about it.
Oh my God.
It's like, but it was just unbelievable. I'm looking over and he's like, and I'm like, and I'm singing and looking over and going, unbelievable.
I love those stories when it comes full circle, and how great is Joe Walsh? I mean, God, this guy's a god.
Joe is great. I remember Joe was like, they had on the other side of the stage was like Mark Hudson and the other guy, the other guitar player. His name slips my memory right now. I forgot his name, but anyway, Hudson was playing a 12-string and the other guy was playing a 6-string, and we're getting ready to play the film, the VH1 Storytellers and things. And Joe walks up and he goes, and Joe was over on their side of the stage, and it's like, and he walks up to me and he goes, hey man, I'm coming over on your side of the stage. I'm going to set up next to you. And I'm like, going, why? What's up? And he goes, there's 18 strings playing over there, and none of them are mine, man. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So he comes over, he sets up next to me, So it was just great, I always remember that. So I always thought that was great when he said, there's 18 strings. And so we did a live show, a live concert that we recorded and released it. We did a live concert of we played all our songs acoustically in the Bay Area. We filmed it in San Rafael at that dude from the Grateful Dead studio and everything like that. And we did there, and we ended up calling it 24 Strings and a Drummer, because I always remembered him going, man, there's 18 strings over there. None of them are me.
That's so
we
great.
we called our album 24 Strings and a Drummer, because we added up, I was playing acoustic guitar and Joel and Brad and, and a 12 string and this and that and the other. So we ended up calling it, 24 strings in a drummer,
Do you miss the Bay Area at all? I was, grew up there my whole life. I've lived in LA now 22 years. Do you miss it at all? I miss the old Bay Area. I don't miss the techie Bay Area. Yeah.
I don't, once I go somewhere, I don't worry about it from that point on. You know what I mean? I'm born and raised in California. You know what I mean? I'm a native Californian. My wife, Molly, who was born and raised in San Francisco. We met in 1975. Been married 44 years. But I mean, she's a California person too. But you know what? I miss the old fun that we had with like Nard and Michael Walden would come up to my ranch and jam with us, or this guy'd show up or that guy'd show up, and he'd bring up Clarence Clemens, or, and then Neil would come up, and Neil and I would work on a bunch of songs, and Mickey Hart from the Grateful Dead had come over, and all that kind of stuff. And I miss that. I miss that camaraderie, anything like that. But I don't, it's you move on, man.
Yeah, I get it.
Life, things change and you move on, and I never look back, man. I've never looked back before and go, oh, I wish I still had it, because and everything like that. I'm just, nope, that's okay. That was that part of life. This is this part of life. So I don't miss it. I don't miss it in that respect, but I miss the camaraderie. I miss going over to Neil's place. I miss Neil, because Neil and I were such good friends, and I miss that, those kind of things, and Narda and all those kind of, my great friends and all that kind of stuff.
I remember the damn Yankees. I guess it was the first show, maybe at the Guitarists Cabaret, and you guys played there, and it was a face melter. It was like the biggest band of the time, like the super group was going to play a warm-up show at the Guitarists Cabaret. And it was fucking fire, man. I got goosebumps right now. I never forgot it. I was like, wow, man, this is insane.
That was right down the hill from my ranch.
Right.
I mean, it was like perfect. And we rehearsed up at my place and put the whole first album together up at my ranch. And we went over to Prairie Sun Studios, actually, and cut all the demos. We just set up in the room and over there in Katati, and we just set up in the room at Prairie Sun with Mooka and just, hit the button. Nevison was with us, Ron Nevison, our producer. He just, hit the button and off we went, and we recorded all the songs live so we could, refer to things that we were, when we were down in the studio and everything like that. So yeah, I mean, the Bay Area had a lot to do. I mean, in 1989, when the big earthquake hit,
yeah,
and the football game was going on, we were downstairs in my house, in my ranch. Well, we had all set up in a room downstairs in my big playroom. And the TV was on with the
World Series,
right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, TV goes crazy and all this stuff, and everything goes wild. And all of a sudden, my house is moving around, and my pool is like water splashing up in the pool, and Nevison's there, like, oh my God! And Nevison runs out, goes and stands in a doorway, and Tommy and I are moving around and like going at, and Ted just kept playing. It was the funniest thing. Ted just kept jamming, like, and like here it goes on for about a minute or however long it went, and then everything stopped. It's dead silent, and everything stopped. And then when everything stopped, it's like Ted stopped his guitar and went, he stopped the guitar and looked up and went, earthquake, huh? And then just went back down and started playing again. I mean, and then all of a sudden the TV screen, and it comes back on, and you see all the announcers are like this. The announcers like this. Well, we quite don't know what just happened, ladies and gentlemen, but we think that, they're crawling up from underneath their desks and stuff. And Ted was all like, just stops and looks up and goes, earthquake, huh?
I love it.
Starts playing again.
I love it.
I'm telling you, there were some great stories. And we could go on forever.
I know you got to go. The new album is great. It's out August 6th. This will be out on Monday, this episode. It was an honor to talk to you, man. I grew up listening to your band, and I've seen you guys probably 40 times, and I love everything you do, and you have a great voice. You are a magic songwriter and a solid human, man. Somehow you made it through rock and roll without being a tumbleweed, and I dig it. And I hope to see you one day face to face. Maybe I'm up in Seattle doing some comedy. You come down and check it out or something. But I can't thank you enough, man.
You got it, bro. Anything you need, man. Just let me know. Let me know. Always a blast. You know me. Doesn't take much to get me starting to talk. And you're good. You're good. You got me going. You got me going with some good questions. You did good. You have a gift. You have a gift. Great seeing you, bro.
Thank you, buddy.
Take care. Okay.
I'll
God
see
bless.
You. All right, buddy. See ya.
Okay.